Hello everybody, my name is Ryan, and in this lesson we'll be learning about how to work with remotes using Git command line. So the command that we're going to use is git space remote. That'll list all of our remotes that we have set up. As you can see, there are currently no remotes set up. So my next step will be to add a remote. So I'm going to switch over to bitbucket.org, and I've logged in to my account, and I'm going to go to my Teams menu, select the team that I'm working with, and within this team I'm going to create a repository. I'm just going to call it test, and then I'll say create repository. It's going to be a private repository, so any of the team members allocated to the ledge team that have access to this will be able to commit changes to this remote repository. Now at the bottom it says get started with the command line, and it actually gives you the option to say I have an existing project. So if I choose that, it gives us the command that we're going to need to run in order to add the remote. So you could just copy and paste it, but let's type it out so we can actually understand what it's doing. So I'll type get remote add. Now we got to give our remote a name. The standard practice is to name your remote origin, but you can in fact call it whatever you want. Then the website address, I'm going to put in my username, and then it's a team, and the name of the repository is test.git. So now if I type git remote, you can see the remote listed over here, and just to make sure that your remote has been set up correctly, you can type git remote show and then the name of the remote, which in this case is origin. So after a few moments it should actually check to see if this has been set up correctly, and it has indeed. If it hasn't been set up correctly, it will give you an error message. So here we can see the fetch URL, the push URL, and at this point we don't know what the head branch is. So the next step is to push up our changes to the remote. So I'm going to go and do a git push. The command to push up a branch to the remote is you say git push, put the name of your remote, which in this case is origin, and then the name of the branch that you want to push up to that remote, which in this case is master. Now we could do this, but it's a little bit frustrating to do this every single time we want to push changes to the remote. So the best option is to actually set it up as a tracking branch, and we do that by using the -u option. This stands for upstream. So we press enter, and it will then push up all the local code to the remote, and it will set up a local tracking branch. So if I type get branch, that's my local master branch, but now get branch -r, which stands for remote, you can then see it's got a local tracking branch set up as origin/master. We can also now type get remote show origin, and then we can see more details about our remote branch. So before we had fetch, we had push, and the head was empty, but now it knows that the head is master. Head, remember, is pointing to the tip of the latest commit, and then it tells us that the remote branch is tracked, and it's configured for a git pull and a git push. So now if I make changes, I can just do a git push, or I don't have to do the full command that I did before. So let's go and have a look at the source code on the remote side, and you can actually see that all the files have been uploaded successfully. So I'm going to make some changes to my local code. Let's edit this file, and in my case I'll just add my surname to the author, and then I'll save and close. So if we do a git status, it tells me functions has been modified, so we're going to add that to the staging area, and then we're going to need to commit the changes. So now it's committed, and if I do a git log -1, my latest commit is D6F9. So I can push those changes up now to the remote. Remember, we don't need to put the name of the remote and the name of the branch we want to push, because it is a tracking branch. So git push should be sufficient. Okay, now we've successfully pushed up our changes, and note it has moved the commit on the remote from A7CB to D6F9, which is the latest. Now if we go and look at the source again, we should see that 51 seconds ago functions.py was changed, and here you can see the commit message that we used. And if I go to commits, you can actually see that this commit is in line with what we have on the local side. D6F9B, D6F9B, so it matches up. Okay, so to prove that, we can actually go look at the file that we changed, and we'll see my surname has in fact been added in. Now we can also change code on the remote. So let's do an edit. We'll pretend somebody else came in here and changed this file. I'll just make it Donald Trump. So it's committed those changes. So now I need to fetch those changes. So on my side, I'm going to do a git fetch. And this is going to pull the changes into my branch called origin/master. That's the tracking branch. I'll still need to then merge those changes back into master. Okay, so we type git fetch, the name of the remote, and then the name of the branch that we want to pull down. Now remember, this is a tracking branch, so we can leave off the remote and we can leave off the branch. Just the git fetch. So it's now pulled in those changes. And notice the commit is the same as what's currently on the remote. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a git log -1. So this is the log of my master branch, because that's my current branch. But if I do a git log -1 of origin master, which is the tracking branch, you can see they are at different commits. So now I need to merge in those changes. To see the differences, you can just do a git diff master .. origin master. So the difference between master and origin master is just the author has changed. So we're ready to merge in those changes. And it has successfully merged in the changes. So if I do a git log, there we can see that up to date and the changes has been made. If I do a git diff between the two, they are identical, so there's no differences. So locally I can check out that file and see that it has indeed changed the author to Donald Trump. Okay, now I'm going to show you an alternative way in which we can pull content from a remote. So if I go and make a change on the remote side, I'll change accounts.py and I'll change the author to Harry Potter. Let's just click edit first. And now we go Harry Potter. And then we commit those changes. Okay, on our side, we would have to do a git fetch again, and then we'd have to merge in the changes. But I'm going to show you a shortcut to do that now. We can just do a git pull instead, and that will fetch into our tracking branch origin/master, and then it will also do a merge into master at the same time. So it's a bit of a shortcut. So if I do a git log -l, I can see it has in fact changed. And if I do a diff between the two, they're identical. Okay, so just to prove that, let's go and have a look at our code and see it has in fact changed to Harry Potter. Alright, so that's how we can push content up to a remote, and we've also now learned how we can pull or fetch content from the remote. So how do we rename a remote? We can just say get remote to list our remotes, and to rename it we'll just say get remote rename the old name to the new name. So now I've successfully renamed the remote. If I now say get remote, you can see it's called new, and if I do a git branch -r, even the tracking branch has been changed as well. So I can still just do a git push or git pull, and it knows that the name has changed. Everything will still work as before. Okay, to delete a remote, we can just say git remote rm for remove, and then the name of the remote that we want to delete. So now if I do a git remote, you can see I don't have any remotes set up anymore. And if I do a git branch -r, there's no more tracking branches either. So the only thing I still have is my local master branch. Okay, so let's now show you how you can clone a remote repository. So I'm going to change directory to my previous directory, to my desktop. And if I do an ls, you can see there I do have a subfolder called test, which was where I was working. I'm now going to remove that. So I'm going to go back to my desktop and delete that entire folder. Let's say this is a new computer and I need to now download the entire repository from scratch and then work on it. Let me just close all of these old files. Okay, so the command that we're going to use to clone, we just go to the clone option here, and it actually gives you the command that you need. It's git clone followed by the address to the repository. So you can copy and paste that in. I'm just going to type it out, git clone, and then my username @bitbucket. It's under ledge team, and it was called test.git. So this does quite a few things. It actually goes and downloads the remote repositories, all of the branches. It even sets up a tracking branch, which is quite nice. So now if I do git branch -r, I need to first change into that directory, of course. Let's do a git branch. There's my master branch. Git branch -r. There is the remote branches. Git remote. The remote is there. Git remote show. I can actually see that it has been set up as a tracking branch. So now I can go ahead and have a look at my files. Everything is here as per usual. And I can happily carry on working, making changes, pushing and pulling and so on. So that brings us to the end of working with remotes in Git.